All right, guys, the Iceman here on the Iceman's Return Wrestling YouTube channel. And I said in my Night of Champions review on my other channel about the fast count last night. Apparently, they're going to address it tonight. And what does Daniel Bryan have in store for him tonight? How are they going to screw him over of the WWE title? That remains to be seen. But this video is about the polls they had last night. I was like, you got to be kidding with some of these results. I mean, I just don't understand what people were thinking. To start off, we had the Divas Women's Champion, and they had the poll. They had Michelle McCool, the Fabulous Moolah, Lita, and Trish Stratus. I had no problem with these names that were mentioned, but what about Melina? For one thing, as far as I'm concerned, Melina had more talent in the ring as far as a woman's champion than many of the other ones that were named here. I mean, granted, the Fabulous Moolah was great in her day, and Trish Stratus, everybody always loved Trish Stratus, and of course Lita. Lita was very, very talented in the ring, and don't take nothing away from Michelle McCool, but I thought Melina should have been on this list. And for Trish Stratus to get 56% of the votes over 29% of Lita, I thought that was a big gap. I thought it was sort of ridiculous. But in any event, Trish Stratus did win the poll, but I thought Lita should have been a lot closer in the voting. But it wasn't to be. The tag team champions, we had the choices of D-Generation X with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, the Legion of Doom, Animal and Hawk, the Hart Foundation of Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid, and the Wild Samoans, Alpha and Sika. And I was totally appalled at the results of this. The D-Generation X got 47%, the Legion of Doom, aka the Road Warriors, got second 32%, and I was totally appalled to see the Hart Foundation only getting 17% and the British Bulldogs only getting 3%. I think this was totally ridiculous. How can you not say the Hart Foundation, to me, overall, was better than D-Generation X without a doubt? And so wasn't the British Bulldogs. Those two should have came in 1 and 2. The Hart Foundation should have been number 1. British Bulldogs number 3. And even the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom. I mean, but 47% for D-Generation X, totally ridiculous. Now, the United States champion. They had Sting, Ricky Steamboat, Sergeant Slaughter, Harley Race, and Bobo Brazil. Okay. Sting wins it with a whopping 53%. And, you know, granted, he was a great U.S. champion when he was in the WCW. But this is, I don't know. I'm thinking more in the terms of, you know, why not Ricky Steamboat? I mean, Ricky Steamboat did far bigger and better things, but he was only at 24%. Sergeant Slaughter was third at 12%. Harley Race was fourth at 9%, and Bobo Brazil at 2%. I mean, come on, guys. I think this polling was absolutely ridiculous last night. Then we go to the World Heavyweight Champion. We had Booker T, we had Edge, we had The Undertaker, we had Ric Flair, we had Batista. Now, why wasn't Triple H on this category? And when they first did this poll, I'd say, you got to be kidding me. He's going to be on the WWE title category. He was more of a world champion, world heavyweight champion, than he was a WWE champ. Well, when I saw the results, Booker T winning at 38%, Edge was second at 22%, The Undertaker third at 21%, Ric Flair came in fourth at 14%, and Dave Batista fifth at 5%. How do you give Ric Flair 14% for the World Heavyweight Champion? Ric Flair should have won this hands down. By no means should anybody else have won this poll other than Ric Flair. I think it's a travesty. I think the people that voted didn't know what they were doing. I mean, yes, granted, Booker T's still within the WWE, and he was on the show last night, but come on, guys. Edge was a second at 22%, followed by The Undertaker, third at 21%. It should have been, by no means, without a doubt, Ric Flair, number one. Now, I'm talking about all these guys here. Ric Flair, number one. Give it to Edge as number two. Undertaker, three. Maybe Booker T, fourth. But there's a lot of other guys that weren't even mentioned that should have been on this list, and I just find it totally, totally appalling. To me, it just did not make any sense whatsoever at all, and I just don't get it. The polling was totally ridiculous. Okay, then we get to the Intercontinental Championship. We had the choices of Chris Jericho, Mr. Perfect, the Honky Tonk Man, Rick Rude, and Pat Patterson. Okay, I think one guy that was left off this list that should have been there was Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, because I think he was just remarkable as an Intercontinental Champion. They could have left Pat Patterson off here. I think he was on there just for the fact he was the very first Intercontinental Champion. And then the Honky Tonk Man held the belt for, I don't know, was it over a year? I mean, now, the final results in Chris Jericho, 63%. Mr. Perfect, 24%. The Honky Tonk Man, 10%. Rick Rude, 2%, which was totally ridiculous in itself. Rick Rude was a great Intercontinental Champion. For him to only get 2% of the votes is ridiculous, and it goes to show you the younger generation has not seen a lot of the stars of the wrestling past, because they voted in Chris Jericho at a whopping 63%, which I'm not taking nothing away from Chris Jericho. He was a great Intercontinental Champion, but, you had to include the Honky Tonk Man was, I'm going to tell you, without a doubt, he had a long run. And another guy that was left off this list was Pedro Morales, who held the belt well over a year at one point in time, and he wasn't even mentioned. And for Pat Patterson to be mentioned over Pedro Morales, I thought was wrong. But again, Razor Ramon not on the list, and I don't think that Chris Jericho should have won it. If anything, I would have given it to actually either Mr. Perfect, the Honky Tonk Man, Rick Rude, or Razor Ramon, who wasn't on the list. But again, I mean, these polls are just totally ridiculous. Then we get to the WWE Champion poll. They give us Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, CM Punk, Triple H. Now, for me, Triple H shouldn't have been on the list. I think Randy Orton would have been a better candidate to be on the list. As far as Hulk Hogan goes, that's fine. I mean, he was on the list. He was champion for quite some time in the WWE in the 80s. But how many times was he a champion? John Cena, 12-time champion. Randy Orton left off the list. I mean, these are the results of the polls. Hulk Hogan, a whopping 55%. Second place, Stone Cold Steve Austin with 16%. John Cena, very, very degrading, 13%. CM Punk, very degrading, 12%. And Triple H, 4%, which was deservedly so, because he was more so a World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, instead of Triple H, The Rock should have been on there, just for the popularity process. But for Hulk Hogan to win this in a landslide and John Cena have a mere 13% was totally ridiculous in my eyes. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. I don't know what you guys thought about this poll, but I think this poll from top to bottom was totally ridiculous. It just, to me, if the fans did actually vote this, the fans didn't really have a clue what went on in the past in the world of professional wrestling, because they only went by names that were, an everyday name that they heard in an everyday life in the world of professional wrestling. I mean, I was just appalled. I'm sorry. But anyway, This is my thoughts on the WWE polls last night during Night of Champion. Tell me what you thought, guys. Peace out. Have a great Monday. Monday Night Raw is tonight. See you later.